What's up, my fellow Michiganians, Michiganders, whatever you happen to call yourselves? Welcome to Wolverine State Sports Talk. And my goodness, yesterday gave me a heart attack. It is never easy being a Detroit sports fan, and Detroit versus everybody starts in the offseason. And it wasn't related to the outcome of the game. Anyone that watched the game knows exactly what I'm talking about. Our two prize draft picks from this previous draft were both playing great, and both got injured. Now, the good news is both injuries don't seem serious, but at the time, the way Jalen Duren landed on the court and the way Jaden Ivey twisted his ankle, you're thinking, no, not again. What is it with bad luck in this city? But the good news is neither injury seems serious based off of what happened afterwards, and the reports are saying that Ivey will be fine. I doubt he's going to play the rest of the summer league. He should not. I don't think Duren's going to play the rest of the summer league as well. They have nothing to prove. Both have looked excellent, and you don't want to risk injury and freak accidents. But there is one thing that we learned yesterday about the two of them, and it's not that they're great players. We already knew that. We already knew that these guys were freak athletes, and in Game 1 against Portland, they proved that they can make stuff happen. But here's the second thing that we learned. That both of these guys are hyper-competitive alpha males that want to be on the court, which is exactly what we need on this team. Guys that are tough, guys that can fight through pain and that want to fight through pain, guys that want to be here. You just see with Jaden Ivey, there's just a different motor with him. When he got hurt, twisting his ankle, immediately afterwards I saw him slam the table, say a couple of choice words, and when they were trying to take him off, he said, no, leave me on, leave me on. And right before he went to the locker room, he hit all 3 of his free throws. And that tells me something. This is a guy that wants to be on the court, and this is a guy that wants to win. You could just see his face after he went on the bench, He was wearing his hoodie. He was like, dang it, I want to be out there so bad. His face was screaming that he wants to be out there. And he had nothing to prove. He was looking excellent through 2 games. Absolutely nothing to prove. But he wants to be out there because he loves playing basketball and he loves winning. So, if Troy Weaver was looking for character in Jaden Ivey, he found that. And what a great pick. I'm so excited for next season. And as for Jalen Duren, he landed awkwardly on his shoulder. I thought, no, please don't be a serious injury. I thought for sure he's coming out of the game. This isn't worth it. But when he came back in the game, I thought, I guarantee you that he vouched to get back in there. Duren said, no, don't even think about it. I'm finishing this game. And you had to fight pretty hard because it's late in a summer league game. Duren's already looking great, scoring 12 points. I guarantee you everybody on the training staff was like, we got to get this guy out of here. So Duren had to vouch pretty hard to stay in. So this is another guy that shows that he wants to be on the court, shows that he wants to win, and that he can be a leader. I loved that they mic'd him up yesterday and that he really sounded like a leader on the defensive court, telling people, I got this guy, you got this guy. Great communicator. I think both these guys not only are going to be a big part of the future, but they have a great desire to win. They have a passion for the game that a lot of people actually don't have. You'd be surprised in the NBA. So this is great news going forward for Detroit. And point number 2 from this game, second biggest takeaway, what's going on with Killian Hayes? I'm going to tell you what I think is the most likely scenario. I thought Hayes played pretty well in the first game. I think Dwayne Casey said, look, based off of what I've seen, we don't need to see anything more from you. You look good enough in the first game. You seem like you're ready to be our second team point guard. Personally, I don't know if I saw it that way in the first game. I thought he played well, don't get me wrong. But I still want to see a little bit more. I wanted to see more aggressiveness towards the hoop. But I think Casey's like, you're a pretty good ball handler. You command the court very well. I need to see what this guy Moore can do, and I need to see if Saben Lee belongs on this roster. So we're not going to play you for this game. I think that's what's most likely. And also Jason Edwards on The Athletic, who's done a great job reporting these past few weeks, said that he'd be surprised if he saw Killian Hayes on the floor the rest of the summer league. And while I'd love to see a little bit more of him, I'd like to evaluate a little bit more. Coaches know what they see during practice, and we don't see a lot. So I'm going to trust that Casey has seen enough in Hayes and that he can say, we don't need to see the rest of the summer league. We need to see what these other guys can do. There are a couple more scenarios, however. Another obvious one is he might have been hurt and we didn't know about it. Supposedly he was hit pretty hard in the face against Portland. I don't quite remember the play, but he was wearing a mask. Not sure if that was for COVID protocol or, to cover up some sort of bruise on his lip. Not sure. There's a small chance that he might have been slightly hurt, and the Pistons management said, we can't take a risk on this. So most likely, it's the first scenario. But the third scenario that's interesting is, could he be a part of a trade package with Kelly Olynyk? Because right now, this roster is kind of log-jammed, and guys are going to have to move around. So maybe Weaver wants to acquire a few more first-round picks, especially if he likes the projection of Saben Lee, which Saben Lee was awful in the first game. He looked a lot better in the second game. Most likely, this isn't the case. But I wouldn't be surprised if I saw it happen. Because we have enough point guards on this team. And we need to move some guys. So Hayes would be a perfect part of a package. Third point. Livers was excellent yesterday. After the first game, I was really concerned with Livers. Shooting 2 of 10 from beyond the arc. You got to be better than that. Part of his game is knocking down those tough shots. And yesterday, he displayed that. Whether he can be consistent with it, I guarantee he's going to play in the next game. We're going to see if he can be consistent with knocking down those shots. If he has a strong game tomorrow, I think that he has a very good chance of winning the second small forward spot. And that leads me to another thing. The depth of the small forward position looks a lot better than I thought it would starting the season. We all know who the starter is going to be. It's going to be Saddiq Bey. But who's going to be behind him? Depth was definitely a concern. But I got to say, I've really loved the play of Braxton Key. Maybe not the greatest offensive threat, but definitely not an atrocity either. That back cut under the basket was great. He hit a 3 yesterday. And defensively, as much as I hate the University of Virginia, being a Virginia Tech student, I got to say, there is something about Tony Bennett and UVA and their ability to teach defense, and I think that carries over to the NBA too. Braxton Key is excellent defensively. He rarely ever gets beat to the hoop. He's excellent at boxing out, and that's the kind of guy we need. And the good thing about Livers is he offers kind of a different game, even though he plays the same position. Livers can be physical inside, but he's more known for his outside shooting, more known for his mid-range game, and we might need a couple guys with different skill sets. And it's very possible that once the starters come off, that Livers and Key are on the floor at the same time. And, we just signed Kevin Knox, who definitely has a lot to prove. But the good thing is there's going to be competition for that small forward spot. And I think after this summer league, what we've seen is that we have pretty good depth there. So Saddiq Bey won't have to play all 48 minutes. All right, now point number 4. A lot of people were concerned about Beef Stew yesterday having 7 turnovers. It was pretty ugly, I'm not going to lie. But here's why I'm not too concerned about it. A lot of that had to do with Jaden Ivey coming out of the game. And, Moore really struggled to get open. Part of being a power forward is once you get the rebound, you have to look for the offlet, get it to the point guard. And Moore wasn't getting open against the press. So when Stu was looking his way, the ball either got poked away, he made an errant pass. And the reason why I'm not concerned about that is that's not going to happen with Jaden Ivey on the floor or Corey Joseph. All 3 of those guys are better athletes than Moore, and they won't struggle against the press. And I don't think teams will press them. So that's why I'm not too concerned about Beef Stew's turnovers. Otherwise, I thought he played well. I think he's continued to evolve his offensive game. His defense is always very good. Knocked down a few threes, and if he wants to get that power forward spot over Marvin Bagley, he's going to have to knock down those threes. And just like I said about Duren and Ivey, we've already seen that Beef Stew wants to win, and that he has a great sense of desire, and he's hyper competitive. So I'd love to see him be part of this team moving forward. I just love his competitive energy. He's tough as nails, and it seems like he's a guy that works really hard. So I'm rooting for Beef Stew. I love this guy. Last point. I said in the last video, after the Blazers game, we really need to see what some of these diamonds in the rough can do. You know, some of these undrafted players, some of these guys taken in the second round, you know, for the last few years that haven't made much of an impact. I was thinking, can we find that player that wasn't supposed to be anything special that maybe can be a diamond in the rough, you know, emerge out of nowhere? I'll tell you what, after what I saw yesterday, Umid could be that guy. This team desperately needs three-point shooting, and when you go 4 or 5 from beyond the arc, which Umid did, there might be a roster spot for you. So Umid is an undrafted free agent out of Arkansas. He's a 6'6" guard. And I know it's summer league, but if you can knock down threes, you can knock down threes. It doesn't matter what level it's at. So I think there's a good chance Umid can make this roster, especially if he can continue to hit threes. We're going to need to see another strong game in the next game. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things in the next game because Duren and Ivey aren't playing. We don't need to risk any injury. It's obvious that Killian Hayes isn't going to play, so we're going to see what some of these young guys can do. And I think Umid's going to get some minutes. You know, Saban and Moore are going to get minutes. Boeheim, I really want to see more out of Boeheim. I've been pretty disappointed with him this summer league. You know, he's not one of the guys I was expecting a lot of, but I was kind of hopeful that maybe this could be the guy that knocks down threes. But so far, Umid's been that guy. And if he continues to keep it up in the summer league, he might make a roster spot. So overall, despite the bad second half, I thought yesterday was a very encouraging sign for the Pistons. We have a very, very bright future. And even this season, I've never been more excited for the start of a season than I am now. We have 2 rookies that could be potential candidates for Rookie of the Year. And that's in a loaded draft class. You know, Chet Holmgren is looking great. Keegan Murray is looking great. But Duren and Ivey have been looking great too. So we already have 2 guys that can be impact players day one. We already have a bunch of young guys with Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Marvin Bagley. So even as young as this team is, there's a lot of talent. And Troy Weaver's done a heck of a job. Maybe we can hope for the playoffs next year. More likely we'll still be a lottery team because of this team's youth, but I love the direction we're headed. And it's going to be a season about development, but man, it's going to be fun to watch. Watching Jaden Ivey on the floor and Jalen Duren, watching their athleticism, there's a reason to be excited again in Motown. So can't wait for this season to start. All right. Thank you all for watching. Go Pistons, and you all have a good night.